if you're looking at mass adoption in Web3, we started off with DeFi protocols, and like people started making a lot of money off it. Then we got into gaming and like play-to-earn models. But this could be like the next big thing to onboard, like the next billion users. What do you see like the tagline on every product, right? So how do we exactly go about it? Okay. So first question obviously lies around why do we need Web3 social media? Why do we need that kind of a thing on blockchain? Like, should we be doing something like this? It's not scalable, blah, 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 right? But I mean, I think this is like pretty self-explanatory. Like, we have data breaches. I mean, Facebook, they just pay the penalty and then they just like keep doing that kind of stuff with us. We have server outages, right? We have banning or censorship. I mean, I think everyone is scared with Twitter CEO being Elon now. And we have privacy violations, right? So that is exactly why we need Web3 social media. And I think there are a couple of talks before as well, with Jay Kramer speaking about Blue Sky, as well as Phoebe talking about Litecoin. And these are like huge challenges. That is why we need Web3 social media. But how do we build it? Yeah. OK, so I'm going to talk about 3 approaches here on how you can go about building Web3 social media. The first one being we have the smart contract logic plus off-chain data storage on IPFS. So this, what I mean by this is like, if any of you folks have heard about Lens protocol. So what does Lens protocol do is like, it's on Polygon, and every content piece that you write, it's actually a transaction. And in every content piece, it's an NFT. It has a content URI, which is basically the standard URI that we can use for IPFS, or it could be other storage providers as like Arweave. And this kind of content can be text, image, video, like how you see in any standard NFT, right? So the logic is on the smart contract, but the data storage is on IPFS. And Lens protocol has like build this entire API around it, which can mean like you just go around in the docs, you can play around with like use the API, and you can actually create social media applications on top of Lens protocol. And the way they're doing it is around, like, again, create an economy. You can actually make money off the post. People like and like collect that. They actually buy it as an NFT. So that's how they're going about it. So what are the pros of this? It's very easy to code this, right? And it's really good because you can query this directly from the graph, because we are looking at Polygon. So just create a subgraph, and you can like query anything, any kind of information you want from that. But the cons lie because we are saying that the smart contract logic, that is every piece of content is essentially a transaction, which means that it's all, like every transaction we require gas, so all kinds of posts would require gas fees, which is, well, not good for users, and users absolutely, but also it's very bad UX. I mean, if you every time you have to post somewhere, just imagine the friction, like if you have to post on Twitter, and you can just like go ahead and click post, but if you're looking at something like Lens protocol, then either you need to approve the access for all kinds of transactions initially, or you'll have to sign a message every time you post, and that is very bad UX for end users. So yeah, and then we also talk about poor interoperability, because this is on Polygon. What if you want to build on some other chain? What if you want to build on cross-chain applications? So this, this is one of the methods you can go about it. Let's look at some other ones. OK, so second is pretty much very straightforward. You can build the entire architecture on your own, right? What are the pros of this? Immense flexibility. You can be the provider yourself for other social media apps. So like what Lens is doing, you can also create something like that and allow other people to build on top of you. And just like how Lens is monetizing over it, you can actually even keep some transaction fees or something there, so that this can be like not just like a side project, but like a complete protocol. And what are the cons of this? Well, this is going to be duplicated work, obviously, because you're building like the whole architecture by yourself. And initially, it will be very difficult to find validators. So it will be centralized at the beginning. So this would be a challenge to decentralize it. So yeah, this is another way you can go about it. And this is interoperability with Ceramic. So Ceramic allows you to it's like this huge decentralized data storage platform, but it's different in the sense that it's not a blockchain. which means that every time you talk about all these posts with Lens that are actually transactions, you can actually do the same thing with Ceramic without any gas fees and without having to go through that bad user experience. And it means that you can also plug in with multiple providers like Solana, Ethereum, anything, right? So what are the cons of this? Well, you'll have to go through the developer docs for Ceramic. You'll have to learn that kind of stuff. Querying will be a challenge because this is not actual blockchain. So you can't use the graph to query from here. So you'll have to create your own querying logic. But Ceramic is working on a product right now to help with that. So yeah. And since it's not a blockchain, again, it introduces centralization in some sense. So the question that we asked around Filecoin as well, like, why should I host other nodes' content if I'm not incentivized well, right? So these are all the things that you'll have to look into. OK, so these were pretty much the 3 approaches that you can take if you're looking to build like a Web3 social media app. But this is not a very easy problem to solve. Because this combines private data and public data, right? So we need decentralized access control if you're talking about something like a Web3 social media. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense if you're talking about all of these data breaches. But if we keep all of this information on a public blockchain, it does not make any sense. So we need to hide some sensitive information. So how do we do that? OK, so these slides are slides I have just added after hearing from people speak here over the last 2 days. And I got to know about all of these cool decentralized access control protocols, how they're building around it. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about how they're going about it and how you can use it, all right? So there's Fission and Web3 Storage, so they have partnered up. And they have something known as UCANs, which is JWT on drugs. But essentially what it means is like on Web2, you have all of these JWT tokens that you pass to authorize, right? And there's like this huge authorization server which will just check that token and like validate you. But how can we build this in a serverless manner? How can we build it by removing the authorization server completely? And that is actually UCANs. So basically, whatever you need, it's in a key. And it is sent to anyone that can interpret this format. So what we are building is authorization for distributed systems for offline access. So you don't need an authorization server there, right? And let's see, it is close to zero developer onboarding effort because it comes from the Web2 world. So if you know how to code, how to make JWT tokens, like the backend stuff, you can pretty much easily pick this up. And again, it's like a frictionless user onboarding experience, right? If you have decentralized access control. So yeah, so check out Fission and Web3 Storage and how they're going about it. I would be happy to share some more links if any of you are interested to read up more about it. All right. And then we have Tableland. So this is, again, another approach taken around decentralized access control. So like how we spoke about UCANs and JWTs, which are the tokens that you pass which determine the access control level that you have. Instead of that, here we are talking on the data level, like the tables itself. So if you come from a Web2 world, you have probably used SQL to create tables, right? And Tableland is actually creating private SQL tables as NFTs. And the access control will happen through a smart contract language like Solidity. So the developer onboarding effort is actually very low because SQL is all you need to know. And you can choose whatever EVM chain you want the data to be anchored to finally. So I think the best way, Carson explained it yesterday, was on-chain registry, on-chain access, but off-chain storage of the actual data of the tables. So that is another approach that you can take on a table level to control access. So you can create some sort of policies through your smart contract language, some sort of rules that can enable certain people to access it and certain people to not access it. OK, so I'm going to do a shameless plug here. But yeah, so why am I researching more about Web3 social media? It's because I'm building a decentralized LinkedIn. It's known as Social3. We are live right now. You can scan this QR. You can check out our app. And yeah, just give me some feedback on how we should be going about it. We have onboarded over 50 jobs and over 1,000 users. So I am really happy to just hear from you on whatever we are building, right? So one more challenge or one more question I think at this point you folks might have is OK, we spoke about how to build things, and what are the best ways to do decentralized access control. But what are the actual use cases if you look at like building something like decentralized LinkedIn, right? So where would IPFS fit, and what are the kind of content that you would like to put on IPFS? So it can pretty much fit anywhere, like everywhere, right? So I'm just going to talk about the use cases that we are using like inside our application. So if you talk about access control, we want the personal information about a candidate revealed only if the recruiter and they are a fit, right? Not at the initial stages. So it can be like the contact information or something like that, or it could even be certain documents that they ask for KYC at a later stage, right? So that is a really good use case on how you can incorporate access control. If you talk about content verifiability, which is like one of the hardcore things for IPFS, we can look at educational degrees and certificates that you get from like learning and completing like any sort of courses, anything, right? And every time like you can just keep all of this like as NFTs or as transactions with the metadata stored onto IPFS, and you can fetch and verify like whatever data you're getting, whether it's right, just like that's how you can go about it. And then you can also look into on-chain transaction with off-chain storage for the candidate's work experience, personal projects, endorsements, referrals, all of this kind of stuff. And then we can also look into bringing Web2 certification to Web3, which I think can be a really powerful move to bring a lot of these Web2 audience onto Web3. So almost a lot of people would have completed courses on Udemy or Coursera, or like company-specific certifications like AWS or Oracle Cloud certifications, which are like huge for any software developer, right? So if we can bring all of this certification, which is actually just on like a Udemy or Coursera site, and it's not actually that, it's not verifiable, like they do give you a code, but how about we move all of this onto the chain, right? Onto blockchain. We keep all of this on off-chain storage using IPFS. That's something that can help a lot of Web2 users onboard onto Web3. And then we have something known as reputation batches, where we pretty much like query like whatever data you have on chain, and then we create like some sort of NFTs depending on let's say your transactions on chain. Have you ever deployed smart contracts? Do you hold NFTs? Do you hold tokens? So what kind of a user are you? Are you an advanced user? Are you a developer? Are you a content writer? Have you completed bounties? All of this information. So we generate reputation batches for it, which are actually NFTs with the metadata on IPFS. So yeah, and the list just like pretty much goes on. So like hackathons, bounties, everything. So this is what would constitute the kind of data that you would like to put on like a decentralized LinkedIn. And I think you can create similar use cases if you're looking to build a Web3 social media app. OK, so yeah, that was pretty much it. If you would like to connect with me, these are all my socials. And if you're hiring, I would love to talk to you and get some feedback on how you're going about your hiring process and if I can help in any capacity. All right, thank you. That was it.